That's interesting. So let's take it a step further here, because I absolutely agree with you that these two were mutually abusive to each other. We heard their therapist say it early on. The testimony has supported it. We've got an eyewitness presented on both sides who says they saw each of those parties respectively hit the other one on an occasion. John, what do you think the odds are that at the end of all this, the jury says, neither of you win. This was disrespectful, disgraceful, and neither of you deserve $1. What do you think?
I think the odds of that are very, very high. I mean, I've said from the beginning, I think that from the standpoint of value to the tabloids, hey, this case is gold, But I think from the standpoint of being a meritless case that the jury is going to make a finding and award somebody money, more like pennies on the dollar. It's just not there. I mean, I do believe that Johnny Depp's going to be in a better place from the standpoint of public opinion. He has a strong fan base. This may actually cause a little resurgence in his career, despite the issues he's had. I think it's pretty clear based on everything else that Amber Heard is really suffering a career downturn based on what's being portrayed in this trial. So I agree with you that this was probably not going to be a situation where the jury feels like either party is entitled to an award. But I definitely believe that from the standpoint, if Johnny Depp's goal was to make certain that he was not portrayed or perceived as a domestic abuser, I think he's done his job from that standpoint.
Yeah. John, I want to take a look together at some of the testimony we saw late in the day yesterday that came in from someone who was involved with Johnny Depp many years ago, actress Ellen Barkin. And they introduced her testimony via videotape deposition. And really the big point of it was one incident. So we've cut out that piece of the testimony in which she talks about an incident where he became violent and she watched it. Let's take a look.
Did there come a time, Ms. Barkin, when Mr. Depp acted in a way that was out of control with you?
Yes. Mr. Depp threw a wine bottle across the room.
Sitting here today, Ms. Barkin, do you remember whether the bottle hit you?
No, it did not.
Okay, so she was not struck with a bottle. To be clear, no one else was struck with a bottle. No one was injured in the incident, but she says it happened. John Mobley, tell me, how much weight do you think the jury will give this in the grand scheme of things?
I think they'll give it pennies on the dollar. I mean, the bottom line is this. I mean, 30 years ago, when her and Johnny Depp were in a primarily physical relationship where, he was doing drugs and alcohol, which he's admitted extensively, and I'm certain she was as well. I mean, she's dating this younger actor, and they have this, as she described, primarily, she wouldn't even call it romantic, but a physical relationship. But on one occasion, 30 years ago, she saw him throw a wine bottle when he got mad at something. He didn't throw it at her. He didn't hit her. The argument was not something that she was a part of or the subject of. And there was no other allegation of abuse. Honestly, I'm surprised the testimony was even admitted. I just don't see the relevance, in this particular case.
Yeah, it seems like a little bit of a stretch, huh? Like it seems a little bit, and I'm kind of surprised it came in. There must have been probably a motion in limine on this early on in the case. I would imagine that we just weren't privy to, weren't there that day whenever it was argued. But, I guess you can consider this like a prior bad act, but, okay, so he threw a bottle at the wall, all right, but at the end of the day, this case is about whether or not domestic violence occurred, whether or not Amber Heard in particular was a victim of domestic violence. It's such, as we know in the law, John Mobley, like propensity evidence, like threw a bottle on one occasion, so must have thrown it on every other occasion. Usually that kind of evidence is excluded. So I'm kind of surprised it even came in.
I agree, and it was 30 years ago. I mean, even typically when it comes to prior bad acts, it's typically time limitations under the rules. If we want to get technical, every state has rules regarding admissibility of prior bad acts. I mean, in my state it's 10 years, and anything over 10 years, the court has got to weigh the probative value versus the risk of unfair prejudice. And when you start looking at it from that analysis, what is the probative value? What does it prove to demonstrate or allow testimony that 30 years ago he threw a wine bottle at a wall? I mean, I'm surprised in two ways. I'm surprised the court let it in, and I'm surprised that her attorneys even presented that evidence, because it's my perspective, my practice is I want to put up strong evidence. I mean, this is a long trial. It's gone on over a month. The jury's not going to retain every single detail that comes out from every single witness. So I believe what you want to do is put up your strong evidence. I think putting up weak witnesses and weak testimony diminishes the value of your case and makes you look desperate. So I think it was a mistake for them to put her up because, once again, it was great for the cover of People magazine, but it doesn't really help their case and actually suggests that they have a very weak case because they're going back 30 years to find someone that say he threw a wine bottle at a wall.